Welcome back to Economics Simplified with Miss Ellen. Today, the objective of the day is we are going to explain unemployment. What is unemployment? We are going to look at types of unemployment and so many things concerning unemployment. Now, let's define what unemployment is, or when we say labor is unemployed, what it means. It is defined as an economic situation where there are no job vacancies for a country's labor force that are active and willing to offer themselves for work at an existing market wage rate and so do not earn any income from employment. Let's look at another definition for unemployment. That is, it is a situation where there are no job vacancies for the factors of production, especially labor. A labor is willing to work, but then the work is actually not there, so the person is unemployed. So when we talk about unemployment, it does not refer to somebody who is sitting in the house not searching for a work. You are not an unemployed person. But then those who are actively engaged or actively looking for a work to do, but then are not finding any, that is unemployment of labor. Then we have unemployment rate. Sometimes you can be asked to differentiate between unemployment and then unemployment rate. The unemployment rate is simply the percentage of people out of the labor force who are willing and then seeking for job but cannot find any. So the unemployment simply people are searching for work but then they don't find any. But then with the unemployment rate, we're talking about the percentage of people who are searching for a work to do but then there are no work for them. Now, sometimes you'll be asked to calculate for the unemployment rate of a country. The formula is the unemployed in the country over the total labor force times 100. So that is the formula for unemployment rate. Then let's look at that of underemployment. Sometimes you can be asked to differentiate between unemployment and then underemployment. Now, when we talk about underemployment, it is a situation where resources are put into economic use but not to their full capacity. Somebody is employed all right, but then you are not utilizing your full potential due to one or two circumstances. So a typical example, we have a chartered accountant working as a messenger. You are employed all right, but then you are not putting in your full capacity as a chartered accountant. That is underemployment. Now let's talk about the types of unemployment. We have so many types of unemployment, but today we are going to talk about 4 or 5 types of unemployment. The first is what is known as seasonal unemployment. Seasonal unemployment. It is an unemployment caused by annual variations of the season. Now, this type of unemployment, it's very common in West African countries, example, Ghana. Now, with this, it usually occurs in the agricultural sectors or some weather changing works. Example, we have that of the farmer. The farmer works based on the annual variation or seasonal changes. Now, a farmer is fully employed during the raining season. Then in the dry season, they stay in the house. Why? Because the weather is not favorable. So when it's in the dry season, the farmer is termed as unemployed due to the seasonal change of the weather. But then they become employed again during the raining season. Then we have another example, which is the constructional workers, example, masons. Now, masons are actively employed in the dry season. Why? Because the rain wouldn't distract them. But then in the raining season, construction work becomes very difficult because you cannot build or construct whilst it's raining. So during that season, the masons are unemployed. So it is based on seasonal variation. Then another type is what is known as a disguised unemployment. Disguised unemployment. It is a type of unemployment where there are too many people engaged in an economic activity such that if a worker is absent, it does not affect production. So in this situation, this is where people pretend to work, but then actually they are not working. Now, this is found in mostly the ministries where there are a lot of people engaged in the same economic activity. Now, for example, in Ghana, if we want to reduce the number of unemployment in the system, we tend to employ so many people to work at a particular ministry. Now, whether you are there or you are not there, work still continues. In other words, when you are absent, nobody even sees that you are absent. Why? Because there are so many people who are doing that work which you should have been doing. So that is what a disguised unemployment. Another example is that of the conductor of a bus or the church mate. Whether the church mate comes to work or not, passengers are still going to board the car and then they will still pay. So it means the mate is a typical example of a disguised unemployment. Why? Because whether you are absent or you are not, the work will still continue. Then another type of unemployment is what is known as structural unemployment. Structural unemployment. Now, it is a type of unemployment caused by structural changes in the economy, which leads to a fall in demand pattern. When there is a structural change in the economy, which leads to a fall in demand pattern. Now, factors that causes a change in demand pattern. The first one we have when there is a change in consumer taste and preference. For example, maybe formerly consumers were using charcoal to cook. Then, due to structural changes, they shift their taste to, let's say, the use of gas. So it means those who are into the production of charcoal will be unemployed. They are unemployed because consumers' taste and preference have changed from the use of charcoal to the use of gas. So before they will be employed again, it means they have to learn how to produce gas before they can what come back to being employed. So due to consumer taste and preference changing, that is from charcoal to gas, people who are into the production of charcoal will be unemployed. So they are termed as structural unemployment. Then another factor that causes a change in demand pattern will be when there is an increase in consumers' income if the commodities are inferior goods. Now, the inferior goods are simply goods in which when one's income increase, you tend to demand less of that commodity. Then, when your income level falls, that is when you consume such commodities. Now, let's assume that whatever I'm consuming is an inferior good. Example, maybe consuming gari, or gari happens to be my inferior good. When my income level increases, it's either I stop consuming that gari or I consume it once a while. Why? Because my income level has what increased. Then let's look at when the good you are consuming is a normal good. Now, a normal good is any good in which when one income level increases, you tend to consume more of such goods. Then when your income level falls, that is when you also reduce your consumption for such good or the normal good. So we are saying that one thing that can cause a change in the pattern of demand for a commodity is when there is a fall in your income and then the good you happen to consume it's a normal good. Now, since it is a normal good and then your income level has fallen, it means you are going to also reduce your consumption for that commodity. Therefore, those who are producing the normal good, they will have to lay off their people. Why? Because your income level has fallen or reduced. Then another factor is when there is a reduction in the price of a substitute. Now, a substitute demand or a substitute good is any demand which serves the same purpose. So a typical example, we have that of the powdered milk and then the canned milk. They serve the same purpose. Now, let's assume that the price of powdered milk has increased. It means that consumers are going to shift their demand from that of the powdered milk to the canned milk. Why? Because the canned milk, the price will be seen as cheaper than that of the powdered milk. So all consumers are going to shift to the consumption of the canned milk, meaning that those who are into the production of the powdered milk will be laid off or will be out of work. In other words, they will be unemployed. That unemployment is what is known as the structural unemployment. Then we have cyclical unemployment. Cyclical unemployment. It is a type of unemployment which is caused by deficiency in demand, oversupply of goods as a result of economic crisis or economic recessions of a country. Now let's look at the difference between the structural and then that of the cyclical unemployment. With the structural unemployment, we said it is caused by a structural change in the economy, which leads to the demand pattern or which leads to a change in the demand pattern. Now, with the cyclical unemployment, we are saying that it is as a result of when there is a change in demand pattern or when there is deficiency in demand, oversupply as a result of economic crisis in the country. So you realize that the cyclical unemployment, there is deficiency in demand or there is a change in demand pattern as a result of economic crisis or economic recessions in the country. But then with the structural unemployment, this is where the pattern of demand changes as a result of the structure that is when there is a structural change in the economy. So please let's take note of these differences. Now, an example of an economic crisis will be that when there is inflation in the system, which makes the prices of goods and services to shoot up. Now, to suppliers, they will take advantage of the fact that the price of goods and services has increased, and then they tend to increase their supply of the commodity. But to us, the citizens, or to us, the consumers, the high price in good will mean that we'll have to reduce our demand for the goods. Why? Because we are to buy it at a higher price. So if suppliers are supplying more of the commodity due to the increase in price, and then consumers are not demanding whatever they are supplying, it means that supply will be more than demand, and then they will be making a loss. So what they will have to do is that they will have to reduce their supply. Reducing the supply will also mean that you have to lay off some people. So you laying off your laborers will cause the cyclical unemployment in the system. So that is cyclical and unemployment. Then the last is what is known as casual unemployment. Casual unemployment. It is an unemployment associated with casual workers. Who is a casual worker? That is any worker who is employed based on contract or they are contract-based workers. A typical example, we have that of the consultants, we have the construction workers, we have surveyors. So if you are a contractor and then we've given you a contract, maybe the contract is for a period of 1 year. After you are done, your contract is over. You go back home and then wait for another contract to be given to you. So that is what a casual unemployment. You are employed for a particular period of time. When your contract is over, it means you become unemployed till you get another contract. So that is casual unemployment. My next video will continue with the types of unemployment. Please remember to subscribe to the channel, you like, you share, and make sure to leave a comment below. Thank you.